G'day folks, Sapper here with another World of Warships video. Welcome to BLUF, or Bottom Line Up Front, a series where I review ships but give you the need to know first thing and the in-depth meat further on. Think of it as a ship review video but with a TLDR. New York is slow and average. If you've watched my BLUF on her, you'll know she has some of the best guns in Tier 5, so she's not that average. No doubt at some point you've heard that New Mexico is average and just a shotgun. So let's find out. Here is my review of the Tier 6 US Navy battleship, New Mexico. The bluff for New Mexico is that she is a slow and poor Tier 6 battleship with a flexible turret setup. She is eclipsed in every regard by other tech-line battleships at tier, having no single standout quality. Unfortunately, her strongest traits being torpedo protection, improved DCP, and improved heal are not enough for New Mexico to be anything other than subpar. It is hard for any battleship to be objectively bad in World of Warships, but New Mexico is close. New Mexico is in many ways a direct evolution of New York. She is a slow ship, the slowest among her tech-line counterparts, at 21 knots, but she also continues New York's excellent rudder shift and tight turning circle. New Mexico also has a similar level of citadel protection to New York. However, at Tier 6 you begin to see higher caliber guns like the 380s and 381s on Bayern and Queen Elizabeth. Sadly, New Mexico's good citadel protection will be less effective against guns of that caliber at most ranges. While New Mexico's citadel is well armoured, she suffers from similar issues to New York in her armour in other areas. In that it's all fairly weak at 26mm, although this is opposed to 19mm on New York. This 26mm is overmatched by 380mm guns, so Queen Elizabeth and Bayern will easily chunk New Mexico for pen damage at any angle. Thankfully, the 26mm means that destroyers will need 127mm guns and IFHE to pen with high explosive rounds. The downside is that New Mexico will eat HE pens just about everywhere from almost all HE spammers she will see, and 127s have become standard caliber at Tier 6. Almost all of her tech-line peers will have better armour in some areas that will reduce HE pen damage from many enemies. As with the other tech-line US battleships before her, New Mexico has an improved damage control party with a 20-second action time and an improved heal, recovering 0.66% hit points per second. It is nice, and you do notice it, but it is not a saving grace or a defining factor for New Mexico. New Mexico can swat away some planes, but she will not prevent multiple passes if on her own, and as she's a Tier 6 and slow, she is food for Tier 8 carriers. Which leads me to her guns. New Mexico has a reputation as old as Mikasa, that she's a shotgun. She has 12 guns with great penetration in a nice turret arrangement, particularly compared to Fuso, Ismail, Normandy, or her predecessor New York. These guns even have some respectable DPM despite a 34-second reload, and you can keep most of them hot if you are mobile thanks to her rudder shift. But she may not be a shotgun, but her dispersion is at best unreliable and at worst trollishly frustrating. Out of all the Tier 6 battleships, Normandy is renowned for her French shells that run away from ships and go swimming at the last minute. New Mexico is on the same level but will get worse results a lot of the time. And in many regards, Normandy is the best gun and ship comparison for New Mexico, not being overly tanky and having similar gun specifications and dispersion values. Normandy generally feels better though. Despite comparable DPM values, Normandy has a better reload, and this can make wonky shells feel better because you are landing more of them. Normandy only has 0.1 better Sigma, but she has really good HE shells as a backup, something New Mexico can do, but not with the same sort of rewards. New Mexico has respectable but unreliable guns and a good turret layout for tier. New Mexico unfortunately has a poor gun range for Tier 6 at 16.1 kilometers. However, you can boost this with spotter plane and the US artillery plotting mod in upgrade slot 3. The flip side to this is that she has a great concealment value of 12.4 kilometers, fully spec'd. The way to play New Mexico is to always remember that you are slow and as such need to keep moving. This will enable you to situationally use your rear guns. You will need to use these rear guns a fair bit too, as you will need the extra shell count to get results. Thanks to her combination of traits, inexperienced players will often have a hard time with New Mexico as they try and balance keeping their distance and New Mexico's port dispersion. Relying on lessons learned when playing New York while bottom tier, most players will want to keep a 15 to 16 kilometer distance from the nearest enemy cruiser or battleship and be prepared to go silent if under focused fire. After that, the trick to playing her is the usual battleship advice of good angling, aim, and positioning. Advanced players do not have much more to work with. New York is slow and only overmatches cruisers and lower tier battleships. When top tier, New Mexico can do well, performing like an improved New York. However, when bottom or middle tier, New Mexico suffers even more as her peers have improved in the leap from tier 5 to tier 6, and New Mexico is slow and has no overmatch on her contemporaries. Tier 8s really punish New Mexico in range, speed and armor, and so she will be reliant on long-range gameplay with the use of spotter plane and the artillery plotting mod. Sadly, her dispersion is poor and it can be hard to reliably get good results when bottom tier. New Mexico is a rough grind. To the build. Modules, pick up hull first as it gives you a nice 5,000 hit points and a 6-second better rudder shift. Then range upgrade and engine. To be honest, you can take any of these upgrades in any order. I would suggest using free XP to pick up at least hull and range because it's going to be a painful grind. Consumables offer no choices with DCP, heal and spotter. DCP and heal are both US improved versions as mentioned earlier. On to upgrades, main battery 1 and then Damcon 1. In the third slot, go for the US artillery plotting mod, which increases your range to 18.7 kilometers. You will need this range even if your shells don't hit much. In the fourth slot, pick up Damcon 2. On to captain skills. First, pick up Expert Loader. US battleships have fairly tanky turrets, particularly at higher tiers, so preventative maintenance isn't a must pick. You do still lose turrets though, so preventative maintenance is still a good option if you want to pick it. Next, Adrenaline Rush. If you are a more inexperienced player, I would suggest getting Expert Marksman first. New Mexico has fairly slow turrets, and you aren't running the Turret Traverse mod in slot 3. Then pick up Basics of Survivability and Fire Prevention to round out 10 points. After that, pick up Concealment Expert for 14 points. New Mexico has great concealment, use it. Then Superintendent for 17 and Expert Marksman or Adrenaline Rush for 19. Legendary captains William Halsey and the Doe brothers are ideal for US battleships thanks to buffed Expert Loader and Expert Marksman skills. If given a choice, Halsey is objectively a better pick thanks to the buffs he receives from Confederate and Double Strike achievements. The full bottom line is that New Mexico is really mediocre and eclipsed in most areas when compared to her peers. She has respectable shells but poor dispersion. Average range but decent concealment. Slow speed but a tight turning circle. Unfortunately, her nice turrets and improved damage mitigation consumables aren't enough to make up for all her shortcomings. Most players can do well with New Mexico when top tier, but other than that will find themselves outclassed and outmatched by other ships. Skill can make up for some of the shortfall, but there are always going to be situations where the gap between the ship and the player skill is too much. New Mexico is well deserving of her shotgun reputation, but in a game where everything is being fought at longer ranges, shotguns need something to make them special like overmatch or reload, and New Mexico has neither. New Mexico is a mediocre ship and a poor experience for players to grind through. So how does New Mexico compare for noobs or skillz? New Mexico loses points compared to her peers in speed, armor, and gun accuracy. She gains points for torpedo damage reduction, rudder shift, improved DCP, and improved heal. The problem with New Mexico is that the things she does well in are minor niceties at best. Noobometer? 4 out of 10. New Mexico has improved DCP and heal, and not much else. Basic and intermediate players will really struggle with the New Mexico in her stock configuration, and in her upgraded state, she's not much better. Skillometer? 3 out of 10. New Mexico has no particular quality that gives advanced level players an edge. In areas such as accuracy, armor, and speed, where good players can make things work, New York will work against good skillz a lot of the time. No battleship is completely terrible owing to a lot of inherently forgiving traits such as big guns, big health pools, and a heal, and my scores reflect this. However, New Mexico in 2020 does her best to resist that assessment. My recommendation is to get through her grind as quickly as possible, either with good camos and signals or with free XP outright. If you are going to play through her, at least free XP her modules so you aren't suffering further. And if you need something to wash the bad taste out of your mouth, then go and play any other tier 6 battleship, or alternatively, go back and have some fun with New York. Thanks for watching, folks. Did you think I was too harsh or too lenient on New Mexico? Did I miss something that you think should have received more attention? Let me know down in the comments. I wanted to find another diamond in the rough like New York. Hopefully Colorado will be. Can Colorado's overmatch make up for the weaknesses she has inherited, or is she the unredeemable slug that everyone complains about? Find out in the next episode of Bottom Line Up Front. Thanks again, folks. Stay sane and healthy, and I'll catch you in the next one.